Welcome back, punters, for another edition of Rapid Fire. We've got Jason as a party from sunny Byron Bay today, joining us, and of course John Walter. And I've dressed for the occasion, so hopefully that's going to lead to plenty of money over the weekend.
Hopefully we can start putting this out on podcast if daily shirts keep going in this direction.
As a what's the occasion? He's dressed for it, but what is it?
Honestly, fair income. I'm not sure. As I said before the show, mate. When you're that rich, you just don't care anymore, mate. It's just that's when you know when you're wearing shirts like that, it doesn't matter. You've got too much.
Never enough. The wolf's always scratching.
Love it. Let's get cracking, boys. Got a lot to get through.
Indeed. Okay, so starting off with Flemington tomorrow, we've got a 9-metre rail. The weather is fine. Track dead. We're probably going to get up to maybe a good track if we're lucky. And it would appear that from history tells us that on this day it's likely to be fair. There might be some advantage in the straight races. It'll be interesting to see what they do straight races wise. I think this meeting last year they came down the outside, but we'll get a feel for that pretty quickly. We're going to start off with the Edward Manifold, which is over 1,600 metres for 3-year-old fillies at set weights, which is race 3. John, what's the market look like?
She's lickety split 290, pretty firm. 550 Sumatra, 650 Typhoon. Titmus Do It La $9. Moko 10, 13 as time goes by. Taj Need 14, 21 Whispering Lady, 26 Anfina. Foxy Cleopatra 26, 34 Celestial Spirit, Vagrant 34, and $61 Street Delight.
Okay, who wants to start here? Jason, you want to have a quick go at this?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think the market's right. She's lickety split. Last start, that Australian run, it was amazing. Gave away weight, carried the full imposter 59, was about 5 wide the whole trip and still hung on. Even though Sumatra ran past it at the end, which it meets again here, gets 3 kilos for that. Blinker's first time is very interesting. I'm not sure why that gear change. So it's clearly got the best form, I think, going into it, and the best leader. But, I think the market's spot on in the order there, and I'll probably be watching.
John, do you have an opinion?
Yeah, pretty similar. I thought the Blinkers was weird. I couldn't really understand it and thought it was pretty strange, actually. And I thought the map sort of didn't need it either. It should just sort of lob on speed pretty naturally. So the Blinkers actually scared me a little bit. Sumatra obviously flattered to beat it last start, but I don't think it went at all on that track. I think the drier track will help Sumatra, but it's going to be in a tough spot again, you would imagine, unless they throw in a change of tactics and ride it forward, which is dangerous over a mile. And I actually thought the other horse that could improve was Gay Celestial Spirit at $34, just because it was a pretty. I thought that was the right race to be coming out of. Went too fast in front the other day, back on a dry track. If it takes its time to come across and contained itself a bit more, it could improve at big odds. But I agree with Jason that She's Lickety Split is the only horse I could back, and it's short enough.
Look, I've got it on top as well. I don't think there's any spoil in the price now. If you're going to be taking $3, I think you might even get better. The blinkers is a bit weird for sure. Up in distance for fillies with blinkers on isn't something I like as a rule. Sumatra is one I'm probably a little against. I recognise what you say, John. It probably wasn't suited in the going, but it would have to improve to justify its price, I feel anyway. Of course, he'd had a much longer SP the other day, and $5 is skinny. That's all I'm saying. Do It La is another horse that I think is an improving type that, wouldn't be surprised if it ran a race here. It to me is probably one that could be over the odds at this point in time, but I don't think there's much meat on the bones to be playing, to be honest. So I think we'll just move on to the Rose of Kingston, race 4. Over 1,400 metres for the mares, set weights and penalties. This is a more interesting race than mine. John, what's the market look like?
Pride of Jenny, $3.90 ball backed, $4.80 Yearning, $5 Argentia, $8.50 Excelita, $8 Odium, $11 Fortunate Kiss, She's All Class 17, Cerilio Miss 19, Mega Maya 21, Tycoon Evie 21, Dossier 34, 30. That's weird. It's not in order. Must have just been backed, or the other one blue. 31 Silent Sovereign, Standoff 151.
Jason.
Another really tough race. Everyone would have seen Yearning's run first up. It was enormous. I think on Betfair it was close to 50s that day. Barrier 1 and giving away weight here stinks for me. She's just one of those horses in the CUNY. I thought she was an absolute moral in the autumn, and she just really let me down. Quite surprised Argentia off such a long break here is tight in the market. Ollie on. Clearly she, I think might be ready to go here. But again, she gets back and that sort of thing. And the Pride of Jenny's gone from a pretty average stable to a very strong stable. She was great first up. Her second in the autumn behind Still a Star in a very strong race, similar setup to here, was good. It's really just going to come down to pace. If Pride of Jenny gets a picnic in front, it's going to go very close. If not, it's going to set it up for the Yearnings and Argentias. I think the rest are Exolita's going well, but needs an easier race. Yearning and Argentia are the absolute class of this. If there's a bit of pace on, they'll run over them. I think Yearning will get the splits. If Pride of Jenny gets a picnic, then it'll win. So not huge insight, but that's how I'm seeing the race.
Look, I've already backed Pride of Jenny here. I've got it clearly on top. Certainly no moral, but it does get a soft lead here, it looks to. And I think it's come back a good enough horse where I think it can go to a new level this prep. Yearning's run first up was good, granted. Bit skinny, 480. Maybe another run for it before I get too interested in following it. Excelder is a horse that I think can measure up to this grade. I don't have a problem with it. It's definitely in the mix. Odium is thereabouts, as is even She's All Class and to a lesser extent Fortunate Kiss. The one I'm against is Argentia. I think at the price it's a lay at the current price. But for me, the bet is really Pride of Jenny and maybe something on Excelder and price dependent on some of the others. John.
Yeah, not much to add. I agree. Just a different horse. The first two runs back just looks far more genuine horse to me. Pride of Jenny, and she was a good horse to begin with. I don't think they've added crazy onto her. She just looks the both runs. If she's gone like a motor car, and I can't she's just going to get such a nice run. There doesn't look anything that wants to take her on. She's got fitness over the main rivals, and I thought Fortunate Kiss might land on her back and could improve at odds, but I don't think it can run the leader down anyway. And Odium's the horse I was interested in, but 364 days off, it's unlikely to be wound right up. So Pride of Jenny for me.
Okay, let's move on to the Danehill over 1,100 metres, the straight race here. Interesting setup here for the favourite, I think, anyway. John, the market?
Well backed, 235 to 180. Giga Kick, 440. Wannis Notches, $6 dual. $10 Sweet Exile, 18 Zoo Sensation, 21 Great Barrier Reef, $31 Cannonball, 31 General Barker, 41 Stupendo, 61 Brereton, 91 Sun Zoo.
Is anyone concerned about the 49 days off Giga Kick?
Well, I'm going to show something because I've never seen this in my life. I don't watch a lot of jump outs, but I've never seen a trainer. We're doing a Ned's ad here, or Tristan will probably bar us after this.
Yeah, you got to go through this process.
I've never seen a trainer send out a bunny in a jump out like they have here. They've actually sent it out so it's a little race. Like if it's a stablemate, the leader, and I like the speed it's put into the race, and it sort of took away a little bit of the worry of the 49 days for me because it's dead set had a good blowout here.
So you're not worrying about the 49 days?
Oh, normally I would. It was probably the thing that stopped me going heavily the other way with the Matty Smith horse because I loved the horse, but I think this horse looks sharp here and it's had he even pushes it out to the line sort of late. I really think it's nearly had a little run here. I've got no problem with it.
Look, I got a favourite for sure. I just thought that the $1.90 now is a bit skinny and I'd be wanting better, but it clearly is the horse to beat. But Buenos Noches, I think, is a horse that I've got a bit of time for, and I wouldn't be surprised if it made a real race of it and beat it, to be honest. And I just think that the gap between them is probably a bit much. Admittedly, there's a fair bit of percentage on the board at the moment. Duel, who is a horse that resumed well below its debut run and was a bit disappointing from mine. Admittedly, it was wide. Wide in the run up the, and I didn't really think that that was the place to be. But look, I just thought it was disappointing. And yes, it can win if it runs back to that figure that it did on debut. But there has to be a question mark over that. And then after that, there's really not much in this race for me. So it's obviously between the favourite and the second favourite, but I'd be a little bit inclined to sort of go to second favourite's way at the moment based on the price. Jason?
Yeah, pretty similar. Interesting what you need, who was a pre-post favourite for this before acceptances, got scratched during the week, and the corporates left Giga kicking up at $3.50 for hours. So I was taking pieces of that all over the place, which was good. So I'm sitting pretty, and I'd also saved on bonus notches at $5 at those prices. Duel. I mean, the only thing you could say is that wet track first up. The format of its first up win was weak. It was impressive. D-Day for it. I know Freedmans do think very highly of this. It's their number one seed for the Coolmore. But geez, at $6.50, I couldn't go near it. I have to improve a heap on the dry to win this year. I thought the Zoo Sensation was good into the wind in that bonus notches race as well at odds. But
definitely
I'll be cheering Giga Kick on. Although I'm not that convinced it wins. There's no way I'd be backing it at $1.90. Absolutely none. I'd be backing bonus notches if I wasn't involved. But I'll be hoping it wins.
And John, what is actually your opinion on the favourite?
I just think bonus notches has drawn the one gate. It could pot, like if it could choose a barrier and it could choose a barrier for the favourite. This is how it would have gone. It'll just track it everywhere. And if there is any holes in Giga Kick, it will expose it. And I agree. Like $5, I'd rather take $5 bonus notches than $1.80 Giga Kick all day. I think they should be a lot closer in the market, and I think they will come together down the middle, and one of them will win.
Okay, let's move on to race 6, the Bart Cummings over 25.10. It's a Group 3 handicap, and the market's doing what, John?
$4 to $3.70 Gold Trip, Dewey $4.60, $9.50 Profondo, $11 Surefire, $11 Young Werther, $12 Inspirational Girl, $15 Allegron, $16 Maximal, $18 Smokin' Romans, $19 Chapada, $26 Great House, $26 He's a Shocker, $26 Knight's Order, $41 Crystal Pegasus, $71 Luncy's, and the Mighty Milford at $101.
Jason?
Didn't know we were doing this race, but okay. I've done it.
Sorry. We weren't meant to do it. You're right. Okay.
That's all right. Well, we've done the odds now, so I'll do it quickly. So
the Turnbull, we weren't doing it.
No, this is the Bart Cummings. Anyways, look, I think Luna Flair's going to jump out of the ground here. She is a nice each way price.
I put the wrong race up. I just read out the Turnbull odds, didn't I?
You did. Yeah,
you read out the Bart Cummings. Oh,
I read out the Turnbull. 100%
all right, well, what are we doing?
Gold Trip.
Do you want me to do it? Do Turnbull?
We'll quickly let's do the Turnbull then, John, and then we'll come back to the Bart Cummings. That's my mistake. I've just gone in race order there. So
you're trying to confuse me.
Turnbull. All right, I've been sitting on the fence the first three, so I'm ready to have a crack now.
Here we go. I was like, you said before you wanted to talk about the Turnbull, and now you didn't want to talk about it. I thought it was a secret.
Turnbull. Sorry. I heard him say Cummings, and I stopped listening to you because I don't listen to the odds.
We're back.
All right. Here we go. Are we live? Okay,
yes.
Good. I hope we didn't record that bit. Here we go. Turnbull Stakes. I'm bit of a head scratcher this race. Couldn't possibly go near the favourites in the market. I cannot believe Gold Trip's favourite. I know it gets weight relief, but clearly it just looks a wet tracker to me. On the dry, Flemington, later in the day, no watering. It's got dodgy feet, I thought. Keep me out of it. Dewey, I acknowledge the third up jumped out of the ground this track and trip last prep. It's had two sort of small setbacks this prep. Don't know if I love that. and the target's always been Caulfield Cup, Melbourne Cup. She might be good enough to win, but not for me at 4-1. I've unloaded here at $26 on Maximal. Just since it's only won one race, I acknowledge that it could be in a Class 1 somewhere. But look, it's been crying out for a dry track. And if you went to that Doomben Cup where it runs second, but beat Zaki, come second to Huetor in a Group 1 over 2100. Nash fucked up that day, to be totally honest. He knew he had Zaki covered. He just held, looked across, and then saw Huetor and shit himself and went too late and costed the race. I'm on this horse to buy a house in Vaucluse at $151 in the Caulfield Cup, so I'm a bit parochial towards it. I think it's going to jump out of the ground here second up. Look at that run on the George Main. Just through the line, he was really coming. Loved it how he finished through. Dry track, 2,000 on the minimum here. Keen each way. This race has tossed up a lot of long shot place getters, admittedly, over the years, but happy with a ticket into this. The other one at big odds, banking on a really strong pace here with Knight's Order, only knows one way. Smoke and Romans is going to go forward. So I think there will be strong pace. I think Inspirational Girl's absolute class. She's proven up to 1,800, acknowledge that it's in WA, but she's been trained for a Caulfield Cup. So I think 2,000 with Danny O'Brien. I'm happy she'll get the trip. Second up last prep, she jumped out of the ground beating Zaki in the Blaney. Think she could just get 3 wide with cover here, and if there's strong pace on, she could be booming down the middle at 14s or something. It's a ridiculous price. On a good track, we find out tomorrow if it's a complete myth or not. I won't be losing on Profondo. Good track form is outstanding. Let's just see if it's a real horse, and tomorrow it gets all the favours. Fourth up, 2,000 dry. Not Robbie Dolan. And then I'll just have a small saver, a drink on Surefire, just in case. I think it could maybe be a blowaway, but I'm not sure it's as good as the others. But that first up win was dynamic, and then it's had excuses the last two. So in summary, primaries will be Maximal Inspirational Girl. Profondo will be a winner, and I'll just chop out on Surefire.
Okay. No good.
Who?
Gold Trip will be no good there.
Gold Trip. Not for me. I mean, if it wasn't Kieran, you'd lay it to your noses bled. But who knows? Mate, they're freaks.
Okay, so I've got Gold Trip favourite, admittedly longer. I'm concerned about the fact that this horse does have feet issues. And I think coming from that wet track run to the dry track isn't ideal. I do grant, though, from a weights perspective, it's well in this race. And as I said, I've got a favourite, so not surprised that it wins. Certainly wouldn't be backing it anywhere close to the current price. I thought that Douay is under the odds. Look, it was a bit disappointing last time, I thought. I think the trainer expected it to go better. We noted it can peak further up. I remember tipping it in the Australian Cup Moral last year at this time. I'm pretty sure it was this race, and it was a really good price. And I just can't have it at 4-1. It can win, but without me. Look, I think the value in the race lies in 2 horses that I'm going to have decent bets on, and already had a bet on Surefire. John, you like it. I'm with you. I think this horse has had excuses this prep, and I think the dry track's really going to help it, and it can win this. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I think even the $12 right now, is it $12 now or something? Is it?
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, close enough. Even that's a reasonable price. The other one in the race that no one seems to have mentioned, well, at least I haven't heard it, is Chapada. And I just think the Flemington 2,000 metres for it is suitable. And I think both its runs back have been okay. And I think that it will appreciate probably a slightly drier surface anyway than last time out behind Smoke and Roman. So I'm saying on a place basis more so than a win basis, it does seem like a potentially good value. So my results in the race will be Surefire for sure and Chapada, and I've got a bet around. Gold Trip a little bit. Even Smoke and Rain is at 20-1. Should it be 20-1 and the other one 11-4? I don't think so. I could conceivably have something on that. And the horse that you mentioned too, as an inspirational girl, and even to a lesser extent a Legrom, they fit in as well. But we can't tip them all. So definitely Chapada value and Surefire for sure. Okay, do we go back to the Bar Cummings or just give it a miss?
No, well, John hasn't told us what he likes in the Turnbull.
But
you just told us.
The old famous word pen job.
He has told
I haven't. If I was ever going to pen one, it's Gold Trip. I can't. No feet, no horse. Back to a dry track. You go into what Paul just said, like trying to make. I can make a better case for Chapada improving here and its 20s than I can in feet improving. I understand weight, but my goodness, like it's if it wins, I won't be buying a house in Vaucluse. I'll be moving in with you, Azza. Well, I'll be broke. I'll be busted, and I'll be happy to do so. But I think Jouet is the class horse for me in the race. And if it comes back to what they're expecting, I think they've just been a little bit too conservative first and second up, and obviously had a couple of little issues as well across the line. I think it looked worse than it was last start. I've watched it a number of times, and he actually does physically grab hold of her. So instead of her sort of extending and probably finishing a length closer, he does rein her in. It's not her pulling up sore or anything. So it probably looked worse than what it was. I think they'll be a little bit more positive tomorrow, and we'll see what we've got to work with Jouet. I think she's, probably the one to beat. $5 is well and truly short enough. As Paul said, like I think they $21 Surefire was just crazy. I thought, especially the $6 a place. Like I probably marked it closer to that for the win. So not often you get place odds for the win. So I sort of sooled everyone into it early, and the other horse that I told everyone to take the price about was Maximal. So in agreement with Azza as well. I think they're just they're crazy prices in this race, and it's all set up by the favourite being ridiculously short. And the other horse I'm scared of is the other class horse is Inspirational Girl, but just hoping she's one short and may even, I probably will chop on her because if it's at $15 she beats me, I'll be angry considering the price of the other horses. But very good result for me here, Surefire or Maximal.
Okay, so Bar Cummings, yes or no? Quickly, do we do it or not?
No, let's keep going.
Let's keep going? Okay.
Gilgai.
Let's get on to the Gilgai race 8 over 1,200 metres up the straight. Interesting races. Set weights and penalties. John, what's the market?
Was that a cry of joy or anger there? I just saw Azad sort of I don't know whether he climaxed or he was grumpy.
This is why you hate straight races.
So what's that? $5.50, $6 Rockin' Horse, a Thelric $7.50, $8 Private Eye. Oh, it's been backed. $8.50 Baller, $8.50 Camel Passer, $10 It's Our Time. The Astrologist 10, 14 Serious Suspect, Zutori 15, 26 Tycoonist 41, Wild Planet Shakiro $61.
Azza, do you want to go first?
Yeah,
sure. I can find more reasons not to back things than to back him. Is a Thelric going to Sydney or on Private Eye, or are they staying going to Melbourne? Does anyone know?
Private Eye
definitely in Melbourne, 100%.
Is in Melbourne, I can assure you. Yeah.
And I'll tell you if a Thelric is in about 8 seconds.
All right. Well, look,
in Melbourne,
I'm going to. Okay, I just feel a bit annoying because I'm tipping the favourite. For anyone who watches this on the regular, I tipped it first up pretty strongly. It's gone from an average trainer to a AAA trainer. Not an average trainer, but he's no Kieran. And I thought the jump outs and trial were fantastic. Was she disappointing first up? I don't think it was Mellum's greatest. I think it was pretty average by him. And a lot of Kieran's improve first to second up. They improve throughout the prep, but first to second up, they can late. So given what I thought of her before the first up run, sometimes you've just got to bet for your own sanity. If she wins this, I'll absolutely spew. So based on that, I am going to take the each way odds her, and this is her last chance. If she doesn't win this, getting weight off all these, that's it. Like, honestly, just send her the breeding barn and make my life easier, please. And then second pick, how can you knock Rockin' Horse? Baller broke my heart. I backed Eaton Swats that last start. They ran second and third to Baller. Its form, it's won a Newmarket and run second in the lead up to this. So you can't knock him, him, whatever it is. And I will be winning on, I backed at $46 Tycoonist. It's a cat, but it's the sort of thing you could just see him running down the middle. I'm pretty close with a guy owns 20% of him and sends me a lot of the report on it every start. And I just get the sense that you sort of know when it's gotten done with Waller. And with this, I think they've got it in the race and they think it can go as well as it can go. Down the middle late, it's a sort of horse, first time down the straight, it just wouldn't surprise me if it jumps out the ground. So that's what I'm doing. Couldn't miss it. If it's our time wins, I'll be angry. Private Eye can't win, can it, boys? I'll leave it over to you.
I'm pretty sure the camp is pleased with Private Eye, so it wouldn't surprise me totally if it won. It's not my pick, but it wouldn't surprise me totally. Look, this is a pretty open race. I mean, obviously, by the market tells you that as well. And there's a lot of chances, and I see the argument for Swatsat. Look, it's just a bit of a non-winner for me. I have to probably, even though I've got it on top, I've got 3 or 4 horses within a blanket. I'm going to say horses like Camel Passer, who I think went well first up in Adelaide, and much better than probably what was expected, and can improve here. It's definitely in the mix somewhere along the way. Private Eye, we mentioned the Felric, obviously Rockin' Horse, Baller. But, even one at odds like Serious Suspect, who is 56 days off, admittedly, but did win up the straight there last time in the Ori Star. I wouldn't be surprised if it won. So, look, it's probably not much of a betting race for me. And if I did bet at all, it would be very small. So I'm not really going to recommend anything. John?
Private Eye, I know it's very different. It was at Randwick last August. Won a 1200 off like a walking tempo around the bend at Randwick and rounded up some pretty good horses on a dry track with Jay Ford on it. And I just think that's like absolutely I love horses that can come off slow tempos to win down the straight, and they're strong horses. So this horse is not one-dimensional. It can run, crazy finishing sections. I think it's drawn perfectly in the middle to just do whatever it wants to do for the half of the race, try and pick a bum to follow, and it'll finish over the top of them. I just think it's just better than these horses, and I think only bad luck beats it.
Private Eye?
Yeah, I just think it's just way too good, way too strong, and way too strong. And I think Ball is dangerous because I liked it last start, but it drew 1 and sort of overcame that. And if Private Eye finds trouble, I think, gate 12 with Shin is ideal for it too. I'll probably be having something small on it. I just think just trying to, if you're comparing Private Eye and Tycoonist, and I'm definitely not, and you're getting $31 Tycoonist, don't get me wrong, they're not in the same world. And
I agree with that. I don't know.
It's 1200's
still getting over the Stratty.
Yeah, he's just a good horse. He's just a very good horse.
Should have won the Stratty by lengths.
And he's a very good trainer too. He's just a very good trainer. He's obviously had, whether it's this or I don't know what he's got in mind, to be fair, with this horse, but he definitely didn't have things like the Epsom on his mind, so he would have probably got weighted out, I guess. But I think he's.
I just thought they'd be aiming for. I just thought they'd be aiming for the Champions Mile, so I just sort of thought this was just a barrier trail. But no, you
I watched his trial, and that's it. If he was like $3.50, $4, I wouldn't care. I'd be happy to watch him win. But because he's sort of up around the $10 mark, I've got to make him a winner.
Okay, let's move on to Sydney. And of course, we're at Randwick. Track's currently a heavy 8, rails 3 metres, and the wind is blowing, and it's south-southeast at the moment. And that's the prediction for tomorrow. It'll be sort of moderate wind. So basically what I'm saying here is the inside rails in run will be probably okay, and perhaps even a little bit advantaging those horses on pace. Once you get into the straight rail, I don't think you want to be on the fence. I don't think that'll be an advantage at all with that wind. So you'd want to be off the fence for sure. But definitely rails and run, I think, is okay. And that's the way we're approaching the meeting. The first race we're going to cover, of course, is the Hill Stakes. Race 4 over 2,000 metres at weight per age. John, what's the market look like?
So I just wanted to check with you. The Top Sport grandstand doesn't protect from the southerly, and the Top Sport Hill Stakes is the first race we're going to look at. Is that right?
Well, let's just talk about Top Sport quickly, and that is that normally we put a slide up showing the limits, but of course we've had to take that down after discussions with Tristan. Certainly nothing at his fault. It's just simply a business decision that he's had to make, and that is to try and reduce turnover. But importantly, if you are betting with them, you will get the limits, the NBL limits from the time they go up. And in Group 1 races, I believe they'll bet you to lose 5,000 without an issue. So if you haven't got the count punters, certainly get yourself sorted and get on the Top Sport, and they'll look after you.
1-800 Top Sport. The Hill Stakes, Montefilia 190, Cascadian 310, $5 Numerian, $18 Yonkers, 20 Elephant, 34 Kiss the Bride.
John, you're the Sydney man.
I think it's a little bit weather dependent, this race. I think the wetter it gets, the better for Numerian. I think it looks like it controls the speed, and if a lot of rain arrived, I kind of thought it would be quite difficult to beat here. I think the closer it gets to a 5 or a 6 or something like that, it brings Cascadian back in as a horse that I would give no chance to if it was a seriously like a softish or worse track. And I think it helps Montefilia as well, who's probably the horse to beat no matter what. But I thought if it was wet, then the gap was too big between Numerian and Montefilia. If it's a little bit firmer, then it's probably, the market's probably right. So it's not really a betting race for me. But if the rain happened to arrive, I think Numerian will run a very good race.
Jason, do you have an opinion?
Yeah, I just thought Montefilia, second up last prep, beat Very Elegant, bounced off that first up run. I thought it was enormous. Looked like a genuine evens $1.90 chance to me. Looked like it wins 1 in every 2. Just so I thought it was simple. John, I didn't have Numerian as a sort of something that absolutely wanted the wet. Like, what do you think it's when you say
I just think it's tough. Like I think it's a one-pace leader that could just keep bowling if it happened to be wet, whereas the others have sort of got more turn of footy sort of horse, and it takes Cascadian out was kind of more my angle.
Gotcha.
And then it's whether so I don't disagree that regardless Montefilia is the one to beat. I just thought if it was wet, it was the one that was hard and tough and well suited.
Yeah, okay. I just sort of looked at that win at Eagle Farm and just thought, maybe it is actually better on dry, but it was good by Knight's Order, I guess, this prep, and on the soft behind Great House. I beat Great House, so yeah, okay, no problems.
Look, interesting to see what they do with Kiss the Bride this week as to whether they go forward or not. Look, it's outclassed for sure in this race, but just from a tactics point of view, I'm just wondering what they might do. Look, I'm with you, Jason. I think Montefilia is a clear bet here. If it runs up to that second up rating last prep, it wins. It should be shorter than the current price in my mind, and the stable's going extremely well. So Montefilia clearly for me.
So Paul, just for everyone else, does its first up run last prep Montefilia rate as well? Is it better or worse than its first up run this prep?
Virtually identical. I mean, a pound or two in it either way. It just looks like the same type of prep, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that I think it gets the job done clearly. It's the one to beat, and I couldn't back anything else in the race.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to the Premier Stakes over 1,200 metres at weight per age. John, race 7. What does the market look like here?
Hang on, have we got one in between?
We're doing 6.
Are we doing
Flight Stakes?
6? Flight Stakes, of course. What's going on with my order here? Let's go straight on to the Flight Stakes.
Keeping me on my toes. Where's the $6 gone? Fireburn, $3 into $2.50, $3.30 Zougotcha, $5.50 She's Extreme, $7 Wolverine, $14 North Star Lass, $15 Madame Pommery, $41 Pavitra, $71 for Renaissance Woman, $101 Whisker to Whisker, $101 the horse named after Jason, the Byron Bell.
John.
Yeah, I think the market's kind of stifled this race, unfortunately. $6 into at the start of the week was a bet for me for Fireburn and She's Extreme. I think bracketing up that quality was a really good play against, the other form. So the Zougotcha Wolverine, North Star Lass form, Madame Pommery form, which I think could be exposed here. As the market sits now, I think Fireburn's, well and truly short enough at $2.50. I'm not a Zougotcha fan, but it's going to get a perfect run. She's Extreme was a little bit soft last week. I think the 7-day backup will be good for it. And we'll find out, sort of where she's at on Saturday. But again, I think I'd rather take $5.50 than $3.30 Zougotcha, no doubt. I'm not a Wolverine fan. And I think the blowout's North Star Lass with the, I think it's got blinkers on, hasn't it? Unless I've lost the plot. Yeah, so she's, no, she doesn't. Does she? No. I thought she had blinkers applied. But anyway, I think she's the one who could, I think game day for her, she's going to set a much more solid tempo, make it a test. And I think that will sort of leave her in front. And I think the quality of Fireburn and She's Extreme are the ones that are going to be chasing.
Yeah, look, I'm worried about Zougotcha at the mile. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've got to be against it a bit. North Star Lass, I totally concur with what you're saying, John. If it bounces back and you forget its last run after it was injured, then it's definitely a chance in this race for sure. I'm sure that Tim won't be leaving it to chance. Fireburn, most definitely, and as you say, She's Extreme. Look, I can't really see a play in the race myself. I think the market's sort of trimmed up to sort of around about the right price. Other than I'm a bit against Zougotcha at the mile. That's about it. Okay, yeah. We've all covered that. So.
You have a go,
Jason? No, Jace, what do you?
I haven't got a lot to add. I just want to ask John, why are you against Wolverine?
I think it's just a horse. I don't think it's anything special. I think that last race showed that. I thought North Star Lass was really poor in that race compared to previous. I thought Zougotcha had every possible. Madame Pommery sort of sprinted from out the back, and it was sort of just there and not doing enough for me, considering how they all went, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm not saying... So
you're just against the race. You're just against the race, basically.
I'm against the race more, and I thought its run was not good enough to carry it into this race. And I thought before that North Star Lass's form was better, arguably. Like, I know it ran on in an unsuitable race down the outside Wolverine, but at least North Star puts herself there, and she's doubled the price here. So if I'm going to forgive one horse out of that race, it's North Star at double the price. And, and the rest of them, I'm pretty hard... I'm a hard mark against him on that race.
Okay, so let's move on to the next race, of course, which is the Premier Stakes over 1,200 metres at weight for age. John, the market?
I was too scared to put the slide up unless you come up with like Morphettville race 6 or something to try and throw me off again. Premier Stakes, $2.20 Lost and Running, $3.50 Marzu, $6.50 Overpass, $10 Kementari, $11 Masked Crusader, $15 Apache Chase, 21 It's Me, 61 the Mighty Shelby 66. Has it got a slot yet? Surely someone's picked up Shelby. Prime Candidate 81, Brutality 91.
John, why don't you go first?
I think this race, if you've got to have the biggest balls in the world to play into this race, because as much as it's a $1 million weight for age race, there's Marzu doesn't care, Lost and Running doesn't care, Overpass certainly doesn't care. And obviously they're right up the top of the market. I think, they're not as if they're not trying, but they're not out there to bust themselves. And that always scares me. You saw what happened with Eduardo last start. The stable just backed right off it and had a picnic in front and found wanting. There's just not, if the horses aren't primed to go in these races, it's a big difference. And chiming into sort of $2.30 about Lost and Running, which I think is a fair price if this was a target race and it was ready to go. is fraught with danger, and I don't even really want to have an opinion on the race because I can't find an angle. Like Apache Chase is the only horse I can see that really is pushing hard to try and get into an Everest, and I nearly want to laugh in saying that.
Look, the only horse that on figures that I could back is Lost and Running, but I'm with you. I don't particularly want to steam in at the 11:08 or whatever it is now, given the Everest in mind. So, yeah, I'm going to stay out. Jason.
Yeah, well, it's good insight in terms of not wanting to have a crack, but it's $1 million Group 2 race. Are they really thinking they can win the Everest, many of these?
Well, why not?
So if you apply,
haven't you?
Maybe, but if you apply that theory, that applies to Lost and Running, Master Crusader, Marzu, and Overpass. Then they've only got to beat Apache Chase, Kementari, and the four things. Well, actually, It's Me's flying, but can they just put in a race that can win?
Why is it not in the Kosciuszko?
Like, what's he doing with this thing? Anyway,
they said no. They said flat out no to the Kosciuszko.
I just think Lost and Running will win this. I think he's absolutely flying. They'll love that run first up. Want to be going into the Everest. Admittedly, probably don't want a gut buster, but I think Master Crusader, I've sacked it. Marzu, I don't think anywhere near as good, nor as Overpass, I don't think. So I'm happy. I think Lost and Running is basically racing Overpass here. And I think, and I'd probably like $2.50. I think it wins 4 times out of 10. So that sort of price I'd be willing to bet. If you get more than that on, Betfair 270, 280, I'll be betting up.
It's a sick, weird way of doing things, but it's a sort of horse I'm happy to throw in multis at $2.50 and lose something, but not go heavily into it. You know what I mean? I don't want to chime just with that.
I can see why. It's a good point. I just think it's such a shit race, and I think it's just a quality, very, very good 1,300 metre horse, and that's what we're basically running here on this heavy track. So
I agree with everything you said.
Okay, let's move on to the next race, the Epsom, of course, over a mile, and the handicap conditions. John, what does the market look like?
The time-honoured 20-horse field, Epsom. Hinged, $3.90, $4 Ice Bath, $4 Top Rank, $7 Crosstalk, $12 Fangirl, $14 Nimmerley, $20 Ellsberg, $21 Converge, $26 Kiku. It's not a benchmark 80. It is War Eternal at $31 in an Epsom, $91 Papali.
John, why don't you lead us off here?
It's a bit like the last. It's just not a race. The conditions are very important for me here. I think, and the way it's going to be run is obviously important too. Will Rachel give a dig to Crosstalk? I don't think she'll hold it. If she does, which dramatically changes the race. If she can control the tempo on Crosstalk, it changes everything. I really hate the race with a passion. I think the horses that are going to stalk Crosstalk are Hinged and Nimmerley. They're not horses I really want to find. And the horse that's the query horse is Top Rank, which is coming here second up at a mile off a pretty hard race. First up, it's never made it to a second up run for its last 3 preparations. For what reasons, I'm not sure. I think it's clearly the best horse in the race if everything goes to plan. And, like Ice Bath's absolutely airborne. It's got the right form, drops in weight. It looks on paper to run well, and it's Ice Bath and it's $4 in an Epsom. So after saying all that, I'd hate the race. If it somehow, act of God, the sun came out and it got towards a 6, I could back Converge at 25-1.
Okay, I'm going to say that Hinged is my bet here. I think it's come back a better horse with the blinkers. It wasn't suited last time out. It was in the worst going in the straight for sure. And I just think that it gets into a good position here map-wise. Look, Ice Bath and Top Ranked and Crosstalk and even Nimmerley are all chances. But and Ice Bath is flying and it is my second pick. But I can't see any value in playing them at their current prices. And Crosstalk, what do they do here, as you say, John, tactically? It could make a big difference the way in which this race is run as well. So I just think Hinge is the bet. I don't think it's tremendous value, but I think there's a little bit of value there. Jason?
Yeah, love handicaps. Go reasonably well in them. Price this up. Thought, I'm going to back Ice Bath here, like $8. It's $3.50 or $3.70. I just could not believe it, which made me even more enthusiastic about the race. Top ranked, 3 starts in Australia. 5th to Very Elegant in a Group 1 Chipping Norton at Weight for Age, beat 1.4. Before that, Enormous 3rd and behind Lost and Running in the Home who I think is the best 1300-metre horse in the country. That 5th was on a heavy 10 behind Very Elegant, so ground's not going to be any issue. That run first up, it was a bloody average race, purple sector crosstalk, but they flew in front. It had 59.5, ran down horses with 6 kilos less than it, and was powering through the line. Like, to do that first up on a wet track, it must improve off that run. Drops 3 kilos. H. Bowman is only really giving 2 kilos to all the others, except one. Just like, what a bet this is. Clear favourite. And for me, the only possible thing that can beat it is Hinged, 51.5, dropping 5 kilos off that Weight for Age run. Is going to be on speed. Might keep going. She's pretty one-paced, I think. I don't think she's got a big change up. But yeah, she's in it because of the weight. There was $6 around when Ice Bath was $3.50. You should have got some of that. I hope people did. But they're the two there. I'd battle to see anything else winning it outside of those two. I'm pretty keen.
Just that the hangover off that run's probably the only thing I'm worried about. But it's not as if you take it 6-4 either. So I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, see how we go. But I think 2 weeks in between runs, he should be right. Should only bounce, I think, not go back.
If he does, I think you'll be collecting.
I will be.
Let's get on to the Metropolitan, of course, over 2,400 metres, handicap conditions. John, the market.
Time honoured. Metropolitan handicap. Durston, $3.60. Ladonda V, heavily backed, into $6. $7, no compromise. Oh, there's some scratchings. There must be. $7.50 Stockman, $9 Grove Ferry, $9.50 Mankind, $12 Arapaho, $14 Hammer-On, the benchmark 77 horse, $21 Realm of Flowers, $26 Chalkstream, $34 Sacramento, $41 Cucaracha, $61 Cariff, and 2 scratchings, Francesco Guardi and Surefire.
John, do you want to go first again?
Happy to. A race doesn't super excite me. I think the drier the track is, the better it is for Durston. And if it does, if it gets towards that 6 range, it's a justified favourite for me. I'm not a huge Ladonda V fan. I know I heard even James McDonald say that the way it went in the Sunny Coast Cup, it looks like it's a heavy track, or I don't think it is. And I think the track was just like massively biased towards the outside, was a massive advantage that day. I think No Compromise is the one to beat. I think it's got the perfect setup. I think Waller played it perfectly, mucking around with these jockeys until he decided what he was going to do with Surefire. And I think if Surefire was in this race, Tommy would have ridden it. Pardon me. And he's chosen to put him on No Compromise, which I think is a good match, but should get a nice run. And it's the horse I think looks pretty bomb-proof here. Stockman's going really well coming out of the right races, but I wanted him in the Hill Stakes, not this race. I couldn't really find much that could turn the tables. Hammer-On's an interesting one because I think he knew it was going to get in the race, and for whatever reason, they just rode it out the back and gave it a cold one the other day. At 50s, it was probably worth something, but it's just so poorly placed here. Surely the class rise just counts him up against it. $51. Okay, he was a chance of having something on, but no, I think no compromises. The one I like, if it gets towards dry track, Durston's very dangerous, but it's short enough.
Okay, so I agree. Durston's favourite on my book as well. I think there's only 4 winning hopes. Look, I suppose depending on how wet it actually is, and that's the big question, Arapaho, in my mind, fits in this race somewhere, and I just think that $13 is a touch of overs, but I'd like to see it wetter, the better for it. Ladonda V, as you say, that Caloundra form is still decent in figures. I I've got it in there, but I wouldn't want to be backing it. No compromise. Definitely a horse that could improve substantially, and I would probably rather be backing it as my second pick over anything else. But look, for me, there's no real compelling play in the race at the moment. It'll just depend on prices on the day, I think. Jason?
Yeah, and obviously you'll know how the track is by then too.
Yeah, and have track.
Yeah, what? So just a question on the track condition for Durston. You guys are saying you don't think it can be heavy for it. Is that what you're saying?
I'm a bit worried if it is. Yeah.
My personal thing, he's just sprinted so well off slow tempos on dryish tracks that I don't know what he's going to do on a heavy track if the tempo is a bit more genuine. So I think he's proven himself clearly the one to beat if it's a sit sprint on a dry track. And other than that, not sure.
Yep. Okay.
I'm going back to its overseas form, and I'm saying that on our track speeds that I'm a little bit concerned if it was genuinely heavy.
So for me, agree. I thought Durston has been super impressive. Loved how he ate the line last start. Does go J-Mac to Karen, but because of the weights, but has to be in this probably genuine favourite. I thought the main danger, and I'll be having a decent crack at, is Mancayan. If you go back to the spring, Durston and Mancayan ran against each other over 2,000 at Caulfield. Durston just had his measure that day, did give it 2 kilos as well. But I do think Mancayan is suited a bit further out in trip. It is a superior wet tracker, Mancayan. Absolutely swims. If you look at its form in the spring, it went and ran. It ran second in the Hotham behind Greathouse. It started 5-2 that day. Went run the Cranbourne, on the heavy 10. Just swims. He was good first up. Won his first 2 over unsuitable trips. Came up for the Newcastle Cup. 2 starts back, beat Smoke and Romans, who's franked the form. Then in the Newcastle Cup, they flew Mellum up. They must have been keen, had 59, gave Durston 3.5, got his tongue over the bit, total forgive. Betfair must have known because it drifted hard. If you can forgive that run, if this is a heavy track, Jay Collett, best trainers of horses, staying horses in Australia, if not all horses, being Kieran Maher. These are great bet at double figure odds here. And I'll be chopping out no compromise because I think they go forward and with the weight, looks a good setup, but really keen here. If Durston is this, you have pointed out the suspect in the wet. This is a sort of 9, heavy 9, true heavy, be having a good crack at Mancayan.
Okay, that's it for the show this week. Of course, let's just do a quick roundup of our best bets.
So many, I can't remember what races we've talked about. Jesus.
So many. Look, I'm going to say in Melbourne on an each way basis, Pride of Jenny in race 4. I think it's well suited in that race. That would have to be my best in Melbourne. And in Sydney, Montefilia on a win basis for sure. And then what else do I have to say about Sydney? No, I'll go with Montefilia. So Montefilia in Sydney and Pride of Jenny in Melbourne on an each way basis. John or Jason?
I'm not going to say best bet. I'm going to say what I'm most excited about, what races I put the most work into and believe I found a bit of value is the Turnbull, the Epsom and the Metro. So I'm looking forward to betting into those races and feeling pretty good about them.
Okay,
yeah, I like the Turnbull too. And I just, obviously Maximal and Surefire, we've both talked about. I'm a bit excited too because of that race. I think we're both similar. Once we see double figures about all horses that we can give very strong winning chances to and make cases for, we both get excited. So that's the race I'm most excited about as well. And I think Private Eye will run really well in the Gilgai.
Excellent. Okay, punters, thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll get some winners again this week. We had a good week last week, and let's keep the ball rolling. And we'll on Monday, of course, doing the review show for the Randwick meeting on Saturday, and of course the Peter Lawrence spring preview or review, I should say, of the Flemington meeting. And Jason, thanks for your time again, and we'll catch you next week.
Pleasure. Thanks, boys. Good luck, everyone.
We've got to guess where he's going to be. He's like, where's Wally? We've got to work out where he's going to be in the world, but he's always here. That's the main thing.
Always
Good luck,
here,
guys.
mate. Always here.
Thanks, mate. See ya.